Congratulations on all of your world record breaking.
Madness, yeah.
Because I follow you on Twitter and I see all these things. I'm like, another world record? Slow down.
Well, you know, people say, why do you do it? One, I love sport, and I've done sport all my life. And two, I want to show people that, you know, this whole myth about you don't get enough protein, you don't this, you don't that. And I want to show I'm 47, I'm getting plenty of protein, and I'm doing world records. And you can be vegan on that, you know. And I know loads of vegan bodybuilders, you know. I helped Carl Lewis go from veggie to vegan. He got his best times ever once he became vegan. And now, having met Neil, who approached us, he just contacted his people contacted our people and said he loves your products and he's just discovered a whole new energy in life. And so I like to try and, you know, in every area. So from fashion, you know, I wear recycled vegan boots and everyone, and I purposely wear them so they look like sexy leather boots. And people go, yeah, but you've got leather boots on. And I go, actually not. And then it starts a conversation. They're actually recycled, you know, plastic bottle tops. And so from my story, it was, which you may have read about, was that my sister was vegan years before, you know, I was. She was like the campaigning, marching, Mohican haired nutter as far as I was concerned. I was like, what's wrong with you? You know, she, no, I'm going to fight. And she was animal mad. And I was just surviving life. My dad had gone, my mother left when we were young, and her dad had gone to prison, and suddenly it was like, you know, survival. And I was the eldest daughter, so I was like just surviving life. I didn't have time to think about what's going on in the environment or anything, or with animals. And it wasn't until I lost my leg. I'd worked in the front line in the war for 4 years in the former Yugoslavia, come back to England, crossed the street thinking I was perfectly safe, lost my leg, punctured my lung, split my head open, and my leg got chopped off about here, and it was ripped out, so they couldn't put it back. So then I had an infection, which is very common in the hospitals. I was in hospital about 5 months because my whole pelvis was crushed, so I couldn't move for quite a few months. And then they chopped more and more and more off, and then they were getting closer to my knee, and I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And then my girlfriend came in and she said, I've just cured myself of breast cancer. And I was like, how the heck did you do that? And I was like 25 and not very educated in a lot of ways. And she said I was vegan, and I went, vegan? I was like, what on earth is like vegan? Like, to what? Can you eat this? Can you eat that? You know, things people ask me now. And she said, well, I went raw vegan, I had to heal. So she said, you've got to discharge yourself. And Ruth had been brought, who's been my best mate for 28 years, she got brought into the hospital with my sister, and they said, you've got to say goodbye, she's going to die, when I got hit. So they told her and my sister she's going to die, and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't, I kept surviving. And 4 transfusions later, my girlfriend said, you know, I've recovered from breast cancer. And I was like, well, how? And so anyway, she took me off to Hippocrates, West Palm Beach. At that time, the press were following everything that I was doing. It was in '93, and I went over there and healed myself in a few weeks. And then I was like, oh my God, you know, when you first discover it, you're like, you got to do this. And I was just really in your face. And I went on GMTV and Lorraine Kelly, and I was sitting there just going, you can't eat dairy because it does this and blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't particularly gentle about it. I was just so excited about it. And people were, oh my God, she's nuts. And especially back then, back in '93, it was like, oh, she's nuts. And then I had people write in and say, well, what did you do? And I was like repeating myself constantly, you know, writing to people. We didn't have like the internet system. And then I thought, you know what, I'll write a little booklet. So I did a little booklet taking all the bits of information I'd learned and started giving that away, and said, if you can make a donation, it's going to go to helping kids have prosthetics in Croatia. And we did that, and suddenly it just expanded into how it can help people with cancer and people with this and people with that. And then I was asked to write an autobiography, and I was only 25, and I was like, I'm only 25, you know, we need some time. And they went, no, it's really interesting. So I did the autobiography, someone else wrote it, ghost wrote it, called Out on a Limb, and then all the money from that went to prosthetics and blah, blah, blah. And I just thought, I really miss the taste of meat and fish. I really just want to, you know, have a cake, you know. And so I just started working on recipes and food science and all this, and I approached McDonald's, and I managed to convert 2 of the seconds in command to start introducing things into McDonald's and start making it more green, which is when you start seeing the the green shift happen.
Yep.
But they weren't willing to do it enough, so the 2 second-in-commands left, and they started doing some vegan stuff in America, which is going really well. And I didn't want to buy products from a factory, so I said, I'm going to use my money to do a factory, expand it. So I bought this small company called Redwood, which had some basic nice products, and then I thought, I need to expand it. And because Redwood is a very famous name for trees and computers, and I thought I need to change the name, because trying to get the copyright of the name internationally, especially in America, was a nightmare. So a friend of mine came up with the name VBites, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, and it's, we want it to be like the vegan McDonald's in the world, and wipe out McDonald's. And then I thought, I'll do the cafes first. So I did the one in Brighton as a test, which everyone was against, because it was a fish restaurant, and we opened it, and they were like, ah! And then 3,000 people turned up on the day, and suddenly, within months, they were like, oh, we love the almond latte, and we love the da-da-da. And then it was dead in the winter because nobody came down to the sea, so we moved it to East Street. And then I sold it to my neighbour, and then suddenly he's going, everyone's asking for the vegan. So we were then supplying him with loads of vegans, so we ended up with like 2 places. And then we went into 24 countries around the world. Sweden's probably our biggest market at the moment, because the Swedish government have insisted on healthier options. I then opened a freebie cafe in the Bronx, because I spent a lot of time in New York. I'm on the board of a charity there for disabled kids, and I couldn't believe that the kids in the Bronx were living off 99 cents a day, so where could they go other than McDonald's, So I went in and did some training with them, and did some barbecues outside, and they were eating it. They had no idea it wasn't real meat. And then this woman came running up to me, and she's like, oh my God. I thought, oh God, is this woman going to kill me? What's going on? And she said, this is the first meal I've had where I haven't had to get the EpiPen in my child. And the emotion in her face, I was just like, I can't even imagine what that must be like, to have to always stab your kid.
Yeah.
And I thought, I need to do more and more and more. So I started finding out what do kids miss, and replacing like for like. So I was ice skating in Rockefeller Center with my daughter, and she went, oh, that smells really nice. And she was about 5, and she said, what's that, Mummy? I said, it's fried onions and hot dogs at the stalls. And she said, can we go and have one? Now that was the first time she'd ever asked for anything that was not vegan, because I hadn't thrown vegan on her. I just fed her, and she didn't know any different. And then I said, come on then, let's get in the queue. And there was about 5 or 6 people there, and she went, so what's in a hot dog, Mummy? And I said, well, why didn't you ask the gentleman? And so she said, so what's in a hot dog? And he started to tell her, and her face was horrified. She was like, oh my God, I'm not going to eat that. What are we doing in this queue, Mum? Are you crazy? And so we left, and she said, you have to make me a vegan hot dog. And so that's when I developed the hot dogs. And a friend of mine loved duck, so I developed the duck. And then the fish steaks, and all the things that were just suggested by friends. And then I started to do things without soy, because the dairy industry were putting nothing but negativity out and telling that guys will grow breasts and your estrogen will be affected. Yeah, it will. It normalises it. And I thought we need to come up with other things. So I started looking into pea protein and developing, but by trying to keep the flavour and everything. Because the bottom line is, if it doesn't taste good, people don't buy it and they don't convert. So that's where I'm going, is trying to create a bigger range, gluten-free. We need to get another factory, but I'd like to do it in Europe so that we can just ship around Europe internally and not ship across, and just do more and more ranges and more products. Okay. And basically, the only negative side that we've had is, which is quite disappointing, is when you get extreme vegans who are already there. They understand to eat pure, clean, plant-based food, which is not the market we're going for, but they're the ones that say, why are you replicating meats? And I said, because you're a tiny market and you're not going to change the planet. The meat eaters are going to change the planet, so I need to help them through the transitional period. Just so, Jamie Oliver to try to take kids from burger to broccoli. It doesn't work if that's what you've lived on. So you have to say burger to this burger, and then they go, oh, this tastes all right. And that's what I did with 4,000 kids in the Bronx. They'd never had anything like that. So we taught them how to grow plants on the top of the buildings. They got into the vegetables, but we kept them on a replicated diet. And we put a bit of lettuce, then a tomato, a month later a bit of this. Now their plate is 90% beans, pulses, vegetables, and just 10% vegan protein. And our chicken's got more protein than normal chicken. So it was just demystifying, and making it as simple and as great tasting as possible. So I said to the vegans when they come in the cafe and they say, oh, we don't want the fake meat, we just want the hummus. I said, fine, it's great, but try and, support us all, If we don't all come together and be a vegan community against this massive industry that's just, destroying the planet, the animals and our health, when are we going to come together?
And I think we were talking about before, people come at veganism from all different ways.
That's
and
right.
we're all fighting different fights, but in a way, like you said, we're fighting the same fight, and we do need to work together. So if you want to make a hot dog, if I want to write a blog, if somebody wants to write a raw food blog, if somebody wants to open a raw food restaurant,
oh my God, that's brilliant.
If somebody wants to go and...
I would be in it all the time, I love it.
And if someone wants to campaign outside a dairy farm, I mean, we're all doing this from different angles,
That's right.
but it's the same end goal, which is to make the world a better place and reduce suffering for everybody.
Yeah.
What do you think? I was talking to your sister earlier about the United States and some parts of mainland Europe seem to be really ahead of us for veganism and accepting veganism. You'll go into towns where they have burger joints with lines out the door, or in California, Veggie Grill have outlets popping up like McDonald's did at one point. Why is the UK seemingly a little bit behind the rest of the world?
Basically, Veggie Grill I know very well. I have a fellowship at UCI, so where they set up their first camp. And they were brave enough, they got the investment, they got the support of the community. It's a much bigger country. It's very East Coast, West Coast. You go into mid-America, it's more risky to set anything up. And education, famous people, like I funded Professor Colin Campbell to do a lot of stuff, and then he eventually put the book out. Bill Clinton then went vegan because of the book. Lots of famous people started to go vegan. That made people, oh, hang on a second, why is he vegan? And it's just, there's a massive community there where people come together. I've done lots of public speaking all around America over the last 20 years. And it's just the communication. I mean, Sweden, you wouldn't think, they're the most evolved. They have vegan options in every school. New York State, when I worked with the New York Coalition for Healthy School Foods, when we set that up, because I did the event with our team in the Bronx, and I tried to donate directly to schools, and they said, oh no, we can't accept it. And I was like, but it's free. And then the Bronx has the biggest distribution for vegetables in the whole of New York State. It's called Hunts Point. And I said to them, you've got 1.2 billion worth of vegetables, and none of the kids are eating vegetables here. And he said, we'd love to, but every time we offer, they won't accept. So I worked out a different way to do it, and we eventually got a vegan option in every school in New York State, which is huge. So it's just educating. It is moving, and it's starting to move quite rapidly. So we're getting into hospitals, into schools, into catering, into areas that can, create this domino effect and spread it throughout. So it's basically like-minded people coming together, like you said, and doing our thing, but also communicating and supporting each other. So, I've done all the animal stuff. I broke into the pig farms. I've campaigned on changing the law with my team on the dog and cat fur campaign. I've done every kind of animal rights thing, and then I've realised, having done it in every way, that the fastest and quickest way we can ever change the animals, the health, the planet, is the eating, more than anything.
And that brings me to walking into this store today, because we're at the launch of your concession, VBites concession inside Holland Barrett in Chester. It strikes me as nothing short of revolutionary to see this. I've never seen anything like this, probably on the planet. Inside a high street mainstream store, a vegan food stand.
Yeah.
What was important to you when you were developing the concept? What did you think, your team think it must be presented in a certain way? What was the underpinning values or ideas or plan that you all had, or did it evolve as you came up with the idea?
No, I mean, it was 15 years ago, so it's not just something that's happened overnight. And I had a very clear goal. I was like, we need to become the vegan McDonald's of the world. We can become, the vegan Costa or the vegan chill out bar or the vegan this, And in certain areas, like in Brighton, it's a different concept, but that works because it's one of the vegan capitals, as you know, of the country. Bristol will probably be the same. But I wanted to partner with a company that had a similar ethos that I could also help shift. So eventually, I want Holland Barrett to have all vegan protein powders and everything, and they're very open to all that, and they're really supportive. And the reason they partnered with us was because for 10 years we've supplied them with vegan food, and they've seen there's a massive market for it. We're their biggest fridge selling product in all of their stores around the country. They have 1,600 stores. That's a really great input. Obviously not everyone's big enough, they're small, but they're buying more and more space on a bigger size, and they foresee us rolling out another 25-30 of these. It's a lot of work. It's intensively a lot of work. It's a lot of investment from our side, and a lot of partnership with Holland Barrett. But all I wanted to do was replicate regular food that is consumed on a daily basis on a high street, so people could walk in and go, oh my God, we can have vegan hoisin duck, or we can have chicken coronation, or we can have a fish steak, and it's not from an animal, and it tastes fantastic, and they don't have to be vegan as people, and they just go, I ate something that was good for me today, and good for the planet, and good for the animals. So I always had exactly what I wanted to do. It was just timing. I nearly did it 12 years ago, but we did some tests, and it just wasn't the right time. But more awareness has happened. It's the fastest growing food industry, and since the supermarkets have started doing the free-from range, they've started to realise you don't have to be vegan to eat vegan. And so many kids have lactose intolerance now. You know, there's a whole gluten thing, but actually when it's analysed, the gluten intolerance is much smaller, because people just think they're, you know, a lot of the time they're gluten intolerant, but usually they're trying to get the peristaltic movement of the colon going, and it's just stuck to all that putrefied meat, so it swells up with gas, but if they give it time, it'll eventually clean out. So I absolutely see the whole world, my dream to just filled with VBites vegan food, and then other people to open, and that will help the transitional period, and then the people that want to open raw vegan cafes and stuff. But it's about doing it so that it can be a business and showing a business model. So I want to franchise these. So I want excitable, you know, committed, hard-working vegans to come along and say, I found a place, I want to open one here. And because there's nothing more hard-working than a compassionate vegan.
That's right. And now that you've probably excited everybody with the word franchise, have you got a time plan for these sorts of things to roll out, like 25 stores or...
There's 25 to 30 in the next 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And will they be run by you, or will they be some of those franchises?
The ones in Holland and Barrett are run by us, and then the ones outside are open to franchise. And obviously you've got to pass a criteria. It's our brand, it's our belief. And just like, you know, I hate to keep repeating the same name, but just like the McDonald's concept, they protect their brand because it's set and run in a certain way. The difference is that the people who are selling it are not as passionate as us vegans. So we know that to make anything work, you've got to give that extra 10 to 50% in any business. And especially in the vegan market. So rather than just sit in the cafe and wait for someone to come by, if there's two of you on there, you get out, you get the samples, and you say, come on, we're in here. Otherwise people walk by and they don't know. So I did a cooking demo a few years ago, and we collected about 50 people who said, I really want to open, please open one up here. I said, look, we're a little family, and I can't have me and my sister and my mates running around opening lots of them. Which is why I've been so patient about it. As excited as we've got, we needed to make sure they work, because there's teething problems. You know, when we opened VBites in Brighton, you know, we'd have someone work there, then they'd get sick, and you'd have to train someone up, and I'd come in and go, oh my God, what have you done? That's not how it looks, it doesn't taste good. And then someone would come in that day, and it would be the day that the manager was sick and hadn't trained someone, and they'd go, oh, this doesn't taste particularly good. And then that spreads, and then people don't go in, and it ruins the whole thing. So you have to be really careful, otherwise you can just spread too quickly. And
what, like sitting here, I can't wait to get back out and eat something, because I mean, I love all your products anyway. I've got my particular favourites, but what can people expect when they walk into a VBites? Like, if they came into this concession now, what would it look like, feel like? What would the experience be like for them?
Well, I mean, it's very clean. because Holland Barrett, sorry, I'm just eating a vegan cookie, that's why my voice has changed, but it's so delicious. It's basically very clean, and so you can just look and say, am I in a fishy mood today? I'm in a cheesy mood, I'm in a ducky mood. I wanted to have like a variety, so you weren't going in and just eating the same thing every day. When I opened the one in Brighton, I had such a big menu, which is not a realistic business, but I really just wanted to test the market. And so I did Thai, Mexican, Italian, Japanese, this, that, just to show we provide loads of vegan cheese and vegan duck to Moshimo, for example, so they have lots of vegan options. People go, oh, I can eat this roll because it's got vegan cheese and duck in it. So yeah, when people come in to have a look, it's very clean. It's a fast food, but healthy. So I just eaten the falafel wrap. I love the hoisin ducky sauce, and there seems to be a real consistency on what people like, depending on whatever your favourite is. If you're not vegan, just come in and ask for it, and they'll replicate it.
And moving forward, what
and
do
the cakes.
Oh, the cake, of course. I saw the cake.
Yeah,
I think you've got a red velvet out there. I'm going to go and have some of that.
Red velvet, yeah. Cakes and cookies.
From a business point of view, then, I mean, do you see what's your biggest challenge with rolling something out like this? I mean, if you sat someone down and said, I'm going to open a vegan McDonald's, like you said, 12 years ago, you would have been laughed out of any room, even by vegans.
I wasn't laughed out by McDonald's. 2 of them left and started doing it, so that's the best idea ever.
But what now, 12 years later, what's the biggest challenge you guys face for making this mainstream, taking like vegan food to the masses?
Well, we've overcome everything as far as taste is concerned and making things that people love. Now it's just getting the message out there to make sure that people know where it is and how they can get it. I always wanted to own the factory and develop the food, and so I knew where it came from and where it ended up in somebody's mouth, not like most companies buy it from different places. You know, I worked with an associate of yours, Wally Fry, who came over to my house 10 years ago and helped him develop the vegan chicken fries and the vegan chicken burger. Because I said, look, these wok strips are amazing, and but you can't just do that. You need to do this and this and that. And that's what I was saying about the vegan community. I helped Daya Cheese in America many years ago, and they were like, how come you're just helping us all? And I said, because I just want the vegan food to get out there. You know, I don't care who does it, as long as it's done well and everyone can eat it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. If people spread the message and just get excited and positive about it, it is like when you first learn to recycle, you feel like you're making a difference. Well, on this scale, you're making an enormous difference. You know, if we all became vegan, there'd be no such thing as world starvation. You know, as you know, 10 kilos of soya is 1 kilo of meat, so you're talking 10 to 1 at least. And it's just really exciting when somebody just gets it. And then all the things around it, you know, the illnesses, and a lot of people got acid reflux and irritable bowel and things that they're not even aware of. So once you open up to it and feel better, you start researching and doing your own science more, not just listening to what I or anyone else says.
Yeah.
You literally, you know, if you've got a histamine problem, you don't really want to be eating spinach every day or aubergine. That's vegetarian. So you need to learn what works for you, and work out, you know, what's good and what's not.
And I suppose, wrapping up, we're talking about the UK here when we're talking about 25 stores, I imagine.
Yeah.
What about worldwide plans? Because I do have a lot of readers and listeners in North America, and also in Mexico and across mainland Europe. Are plans for VBites, concessions and outlets across the world? Across
the world. Holland Barrett want us to open one in New York. I've worked with, obviously, in New York for many, many years. My friend owns a brilliant vegan restaurant called Terre Terre. And Terre Terre Cafe, and so the market there is absolutely gasping for it, and anywhere that anyone's really interested, you know, we can work with them to set up a franchise model. We can't personally manage and run every single one. Maybe one day we can, but what I've found is businesses always work better when people are motivated and incentivized and inspired. And when it's your own business, there is no more incentive or inspiration than that. Unless you run your own business, whatever it is, you have no idea of the work involved. It's very easy just to walk in and criticize something, but when you actually walk a few steps in that man's shoes, you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. So.
And I think also people are vegan for a reason.
Yeah.
You're not just accidentally vegan. You're vegan for either health reasons, ethical reasons, environmental reasons. So if you've got a personal interest in veganism, that's going to take you a long way if you're running a vegan business.
It's take you all the way, because we had one guy just outside Las Vegas, and he said, well, if I did it, I want to take 5 of them on and spread them around Vegas. I was like, fantastic. You know, and Steve Wynn, one of the biggest hoteliers, is 100% vegan. He's got 250 steakhouses. He's made half the menu vegan now. All his management are vegan. It's just amazing.
Yep.
So it's very exciting, and I see that by eating vegan products, living a vegan lifestyle, and then, you know, having a vegan business, it's just the most exciting thing.
Okay, well, congratulations on the opening. I'm super thrilled to be here.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the readers will, be happy to hear about this. I mean, it's groundbreaking for the UK, and I think groundbreaking for the world.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to dining in the vegan McDonald's whenever I travel in the world.
Brilliant.
And maybe they'll have a framed picture of you in each outlet.
Yeah, I hope not. That'll put everyone off. But yeah, vegan VBites everywhere, and please take one of our Love Bite recipe books, because the money goes to the local charities.
Oh, okay.
So that goes to Capricorn Animal Rescue, and wherever we do book signings, it goes to the local animal rescues there.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for your time.
Really nice to meet you.